The text hit my phone at 7:12 a.m. while I sat on the balcony of our Sanibel Island condo, the Gulf breeze carrying salt and sunscreen. For the first time in 22 years, my father Jeffrey laughed. Really laughed at something my brother Nathan said. I almost believed the vacation was real. Then the unknown number appeared. 7 words. Fly home. Don't say anything to your father and brother. No sender name. My hands went cold. 12 hours later, I stood in the arrivals hall at John Glenn Columbus International Airport. A man in a gray suit held a sign with my name, Olivia Harper. 2 Ohio State Highway Patrol officers stood beside him, hands at their sides. They led me to a small conference room, beige walls, round table, 4 chairs. The lawyer introduced himself. Stephen Caldwell. He had been my grandfather Raymond Ellis's attorney for 32 years. He opened a folder with deliberate calm. Your grandfather drafted this will in 2010. It names you Olivia Harper sole beneficiary of his entire estate, the Yellow Springs House Savings Investments. Current value, $2,800,000. The numbers landed like a punch. He paused. 2 conditions. You had to turn 32. And your father or brother had to reach out first. He predicted they would only return for money. Then he slid printed screenshots across the table, text messages between Jeffrey and Nathan. Phrases jumped out: backup plan, remove her from the picture if she doesn't sign, make it permanent. My pulse roared in my ears. The lawyer kept talking: private investigator, gambling debts, conspiracy. But the room narrowed. Fluorescent lights buzzed. The floor rushed up. I woke on my back with a paramedic pressing fingers to my wrist. Count backward from 10, he said. I counted. That was 4 months ago. I still jolt awake at night. My name is Olivia Harper. I'm 32. This is how my own father and brother tried to erase me again, and how my grandfather's hidden truth finally broke the cycle. If you've ever gotten one message that flipped your entire world upside down in seconds, drop your city and the current time in the comments. I want to know I'm not the only one who's been there. Everything traces back to one rainy night 22 years ago in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I was 10. I walked through the front door after school with a permission slip for the Dayton Art Institute trip, needed a parent signature and $3. That was it. My father, Jeffrey Harper, sat at the kitchen table, phone pressed to his ear, voice level and cold. It's handled. She's out tonight. He ended the call, turned to me with the same look he gave a stain on the counter. Pack your things. I thought he meant for the field trip and smiled. He didn't return it. You're leaving tonight. My brother Nathan, 14, stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, watching the scene, like it was someone else's problem. My father opened the front door. Rain pounded the porch roof. He shoved a black trash bag into my hands, the thick kind for yard waste, and delivered 4 words that still surface in quiet moments. Go. Don't come back. No coat. No goodbye. No $3. I stepped into the downpour and walked 3 miles. Sneakers filled with water by the second block. The bag split on Hebron Avenue, and my library book landed in a puddle. I reached my grandfather Raymond Ellis's house on Xenia Avenue, soaked and shaking. He opened the door in his usual flannel shirt, saw me standing there dripping, didn't demand an explanation. He knelt on the wet porch, pulled me into his arms and whispered, "You're home now, little bird." That single embrace was the last time anyone from my blood family held me for 22 years. Grandpa Raymond was a retired machinist who lived quietly on his pension in a modest ranch house with a small garage workshop. He repaired clocks, lawnmower engines, anything with gears or springs. He rotated the same 3 flannel shirts and drank black coffee from a chipped mug that read "World's Okay, Grandpa." Grandma Patricia supplied the warmth. She taught me how to make chicken and dumplings on Sundays, braided my hair before school, read me stories every night, even when I pretended I was too old at 12. I never told her to stop. For 8 years, that house on Xenia Avenue was the only place I felt steady. My father never called once. Nathan never sent a card or letter. No birthday acknowledgement, No holiday visit, nothing. It was as if I had been erased with the same casual swipe my father used on the kitchen counter. Grandpa never pushed me to talk about it. But once when I was 13 and crying in the garage because a classmate asked why my dad never came to parent conferences, he set down his screwdriver and said something that only made sense decades later. Someday you'll understand why I'm saving the best for you. Not now. Someday. I noticed small details. A man in a gray suit who visited every few months. They sat in the den with the door closed. When I asked who he was, Grandpa said, "An old friend helping with paperwork." I let it go. I was just relieved to have a roof. Grandma Patricia passed when I was 16. A sudden stroke, quick and merciful. The house grew quieter. Grandpa kept moving forward for my sake. Many people who've been forced out of their own home like I was probably wonder the same thing I did back then, whether there's anywhere that will truly take you in when your own blood decides you're not worth the space. When Grandma Patricia passed, the house on Xenia Avenue lost some of its warmth, but Grandpa Raymond kept the days structured for my sake. From 16 to 18, I pushed through high school while he handled quiet matters I only half understood. The man in the gray suit kept showing up every few months. I'd spot his sedan from the kitchen window, and Grandpa would guide him to the den, shutting the door. Muffled voices drifted out, but never enough to catch a full sentence. When I asked who he was, Grandpa gave the same answer: an old friend, helping with paperwork. And I stopped asking because pressing risked the fragile safety I had finally found. One afternoon, I walked past his bedroom and saw him staring at a locked oak box on the top shelf of the closet. Curiosity got the better of me. "What's in there, Grandpa?" He turned, gave me that small, measured smile and said, "Your future little bird, when the time comes." He never opened it when I was around. 3 weeks before my college classes started, Grandpa didn't wake up. I found him Saturday morning still in his flannel, one hand resting on a book about covered bridges. He looked calm, like a job long overdue had finally been completed. The funeral stayed small: a few neighbors, the pastor from the Methodist church on Main Street, and the woman who ran the hardware store where he bought his nails. Then Nathan appeared. I hadn't seen my brother in 8 years. He wore a dark jacket, moved through the pews, nodding solemnly, like he had a right to be there. He came directly to my seat in the front row, leaned close, so only I could hear, and whispered, "Grandpa left everything to Dad. There's nothing for you." He flashed a quick smile that disappeared before anyone else noticed, then walked away. After the service, the gray-suited man approached me in the parking lot. He introduced himself as Stephen Caldwell, my grandfather's attorney for 32 years. He handed me a cream-colored envelope sealed with wax and a business card. "Your grandfather instructed me to give you this when the time was right," he said. "That time isn't now, but keep my cards safe." I took both, tucked them into my wallet, and didn't touch them again for 14 years. I rode the bus back to my dorm alone that night, 18 years old, with a sealed envelope I was too scared to open, and a card from a man who said the moment hadn't arrived. I didn't realize those 2 items would one day pull me from the edge. Standing in that gravel parking lot right after the funeral, my fingers hovered over the wax seal heart, racing with the thought that opening it then might have rewritten everything. I almost tore it right there under the gray Ohio sky. Maybe many people have held something like that envelope in their hands, wondering if breaking the seal earlier could have changed the path they ended up walking. I swallowed the urge, pushed the envelope deeper into my wallet, and walked to the bus stop. It stayed sealed. The bus ride back to my dorm that night felt endless, longer than the 3 miles I walked through rain 8 years earlier. 18, no safety net, no known inheritance, just the sealed envelope and Stephen Caldwell's card in my wallet, as proof Grandpa Raymond had left a plan behind. I paid for college with scholarships, work-study jobs, ramen 5 nights a week. Computer science at Ohio State, honors degree, then Columbus, with $800 and 1 suitcase. Survival, not ambition. By 24 80-hour weeks at a downtown startup coding features for an app, few used lunch at my desk, sleep in a studio barely bigger than a parking spot. No family knew my location, no one asked. Inside, something shifted, not anger, purpose. I kept thinking about college classmates who aged out of foster care left with nothing, no contacts, no guide when rent rose or loneliness crushed like concrete. I knew that pressure intimately. At 27, I launched Hearthline, a platform linking those youth with volunteer mentors who committed to real presence, phone calls, advice, showing up, not just donating. By 30, a venture fund invested. Valuation hit $47 million. On paper, wealthy. In reality, still the girl who walked 3 miles soaked. The black trash bag stayed folded in my closet, as reminder the envelope and card moved wallet to wallet, jacket to jacket, 14 years. My closest friend, Megan Brooks, nurse I met in Ohio State Library freshman year, never held back. She knew my full history held one unbreakable rule about my family. If they ever return, it's not love, it's leverage. I agreed in my head, but the part still keeping the trash bag stayed doubtful. Then, one Wednesday at 9:14 p.m., my phone lit with an Ohio area code I almost ignored. I answered. Olivia. Jeffrey's voice, older, shakier, unmistakable. Silence stretched. Early stage cancer, he said. Renewed church attendance. Change of heart. Sorry 3 times each, more rehearsed. Then the request. I want us to be family again before it's too late. Vacation, Sanibel Island, Florida. All of us. Nathan wants to apologize too. I refused. He cried. I hung up, called Megan. Cancer card classic. Don't go. 3 nights, no sleep, ceiling, stairs, internal war logic against faint, desperate hope. Maybe this time different. 3rd night, I studied the framed photo on my nightstand. Me and Grandpa, porch summer, I turned 15. His smile held knowledge I lacked. I convinced myself he'd want me to try. I called Jeffrey back. 3 days. I booked my own flight, my own room. He agreed instantly, no pushback, no negotiation. That immediate surrender should have been my first sharp warning. I booked the flight anyway, heart pounding with a mix of dread and the stubborn part that still hoped blood could mean something again. Sanibel Island greeted me with postcard perfection the moment I crossed the causeway. Palm fronds swaying, white sand, stretching endless salt air heavy with ocean promise. I kept my rentals separate, drove alone, checked into my own room and found Jeffrey waiting in the lobby. He looked diminished, thinner temples silvered in a light polo that screamed weekend retiree. The instant he saw me, he opened his arms, tears already falling. My girl, you came back to me. He wrapped me in a hug that lingered, rocking gently as if terrified I'd disappear again. Nathan stood behind broader and crisp linen leather watch glinting. Hey sis, long time. He extended a hand, then added, no, see, with a smile too smooth, too quick. He introduced Kayla Morgan, his girlfriend. Blonde teeth, flawless, laugh instant. She clasped my hand with both of hers. Said, I've heard so much about you, Olivia, in a tone polished like customer service. Dinner that first night unfolded almost convincingly. Jeffrey talked church group, Nathan real estate. Kayla laughed at every line. No one mentioned the 22 years, but questions arrived sharp. Nathan asked my work, then property, then financial comfort. Family takes care of each other. Right, I answered. Short smiled through the fish, retreated to my room. Next morning, Jeffrey proposed beach photos, something to remember this by. I agreed. He flagged a staffer to shoot, while the woman adjusted angle. Jeffrey leaned close, voice loud enough for strangers. My daughter finally came home after years of running away. Always the stubborn one. Running away as if I chose the trash bag rain at 10. I stood arm around him, smiling for an audience that nodded sympathetically. That evening after dessert at the resort restaurant, Jeffrey pulled me aside, eyes wet again. He took my hands, looked deep. Don't leave me again, Olivia. Don't abandon your old man one more time. Tears tracked openly down his cheeks in front of waiter diners watching. I froze, noise dimming, heart hammering with conflict, part desperate to believe, part remembering the door slam. When he let go, I excused myself to the restroom. Returning, I caught Kayla slide her phone under table, snap my purse room keycard clearly visible. She sent it fast, smiled sweetly as if nothing occurred. Later in bed, phone buzzed. Unknown number, 2 words. Be careful. Pulse spiked. I didn't reply. Midnight voices seeped through hallway door, low, urgent. Jeffrey and Nathan. She's not signing yet, Nathan muttered. Jeffrey answered, keep pushing. If she doesn't, we go to backup plan. Steps faded. I pressed bathroom wall toothbrush, frozen mid-air hands shaking. Hearing my father cry openly like that before everyone, I couldn't help wondering how many people have been deceived by tears exactly like those, wondering if the emotion was ever real or just another lever pulled when words alone failed to deliver what they wanted. Fan sao sao trum hai mui lum tu. The third morning breakfast unfolded quietly until Nathan set the manila folder on the table between the salt shaker and butter dish with the nonchalance of someone placing the morning paper. He flipped it open, slid a stapled document across to me. I've gone over Grandpa's estate, he said, tone smooth, even. Some properties and accounts were never properly distributed. Dad and I agree consolidating under one family trust makes sense. Sign here, and it's settled. The header read, Family Trust Agreement, Harper/Ellis Estate. I skimmed fast enough to spot the power of attorney clause hidden in warm family wording, handing Nathan total control of every Ellis-linked asset. I need time to review this carefully, I said. Nathan eased back in his chair. It's routine. Dad signed already. Jeffrey stretched his hand across the table, covered mine. We're family, Olivia. Trust your dad. I withdrew my hand. I need time. Nathan's jaw locked. Kayla flicked her eyes to him, then back to her phone. I stood, excused myself, returned to my room, photographed each page, sent the files to my attorney in Columbus. 2 hours later, he called, voice urgent. Do not sign. This would transfer control of assets you may not even know exist straight to your brother. I sat on the bed, phone still in hand, when it vibrated again. Unknown number. Longer text. Fly home immediately. Say nothing to your father or brother. 6 a.m. flight from Fort Myers. Car waiting at Columbus. Don't be scared. I read it twice, pulse rising. Logic yelled scam. Gut instinct whispered danger. I pictured the trash bag rain door slamming 22 years back. Then the folder, the overheard backup plan. I chose gut. I set the alarm for 4:30 a.m. Lay awake, staring at shadows until it sounded. 4:30, still dark hallway, carried faint chlorine and hibiscus. I grabbed my carry-on, never unpacked fully in places I might bolt from, took service stairs to ground level. No checkout, no note. In the parking lot, I summoned an Uber, watched the resort shrink in the rearview as we merged onto Highway 41. The driver, a retired teacher named Donna, asked if I was going home. I said yes. That word felt truer than anything in 3 days. At Fort Myers Airport, I checked in for the 6 a.m. to Columbus. Gate area sparse businessmen, mother cradling sleeping toddler. I sat plastic chair, gripping untouched coffee, rehearsing farewells I'd never deliver. I texted Megan from boarding line. Everything wrong, leaving now, call when I land. She fired back instantly. Thank God. Plane lifted at 6:05. I watched coastline tilt, drop away, island resort family I'd permitted hope for in 72 reckless hours. While queuing to board, I had glimpsed Kayla's phone left unlocked on the breakfast table screen, glowing with a photo she took of my passport and room key card, night 1. She forwarded it straight to Nathan. That explained how they knew my exact room. That explained how the backup plan would have located me if I stayed. I whispered to the empty window seat, I have no family left. The sentence landed heavy, final, like a lock clicking shut for good. The plane touched down in Columbus just after 8 local time. I stepped off the jetway carry-on over one shoulder, still carrying the faint salt taste from Sanibel. the coastline vanishing behind me, like a mistake I should never have made. Gate B7 was hushed early sunlight slicing through tall windows. I entered the arrivals hall and saw him instantly, a man in a gray suit, silver hair, holding a small sign. Olivia Harper. Two Ohio State Highway Patrol officers stood beside him, hands at ease, but ready. He lowered the sign when our eyes locked. Miss Harper, I'm Stephen Caldwell, your grandfather, Raymond Ellis's attorney for 32 years. His handshake was solid, eyes steady behind wire frames. We need to speak privately. They escorted me to a small conference room near the airline offices. Beige walls, round table, 4 chairs, no windows. Stephen sat across, placed 3 items on the table with deliberate care: a bound legal document, the cream envelope sealed with wax I'd carried 14 years, and a thick folder tabbed and labeled. Your grandfather drafted this will in 2010, he said, voice level. It names you, Olivia Harper, sole beneficiary of his entire estate, the house on Xenia Avenue, savings accounts, investment holdings accumulated over 40 years. Current value, $2,800,000. The figure hit like a closed fist. I gripped the table edge, knuckles white. He pressed on. He attached 2 conditions. You had to turn 32. Your father or brother had to initiate contact. He knew they would only return if they smelled money. Then he opened the thick folder, spread printed screenshots across the table. Text messages between Jeffrey and Nathan. The first read, "She's here. Room 412. If she doesn't sign by Thursday, go to Plan B. Reply, Plan B costs double." Nathan's answer, "Whatever it takes." Stephen introduced the woman at the table's end, compact, short brown hair, no jewelry, face blank. "This is Laura Hayes, private investigator. I retained her 6 weeks ago, the day your father called you." Laura opened a laptop, turned the screen toward me. "Your brother owes $340,000, mostly online gambling. Creditors are not patient." She clicked through a timeline. Nathan found the will draft 6 months earlier by breaking into the empty house on Xenia Avenue. He told Jeffrey. They built the vacation plan together. Step 1, reconnect. Step 2, convince you to sign the trust document giving Nathan control. Step 3. Laura advanced to new messages. Nathan to contact V. If she doesn't sign, we go to Plan B. V's reply, Plan B makes her disappear permanently. I stared at the words, breath catching. Laura's tone remained flat, precise. Your brother arranged for you to be eliminated from the picture if you refused. Then she displayed the message that cut deepest. Nathan to Jeffrey, 2 days before the trip. She's not signing. We may need the backup. Jeffrey's reply. Do what you have to. Just keep me out of it. 8 words from my own father. No hesitation, no doubt. The room shrank, fluorescent lights buzzing sharp in my ears. Stephen outlined next steps, filings, coordination, protective orders, but his voice faded to static. The floor rushed up. I woke flat on my back, paramedic kneeling, fingers on my wrist, light in my eyes. You're okay. Blood pressure dropped. Count backward from 10. I counted, staring at ceiling tiles, remembering Grandpa opening the door in the rain, kneeling on the wet porch, arms open, no questions asked. He knew the shape of this betrayal, even if not the exact names or dates. He spent his final years quietly building a barrier between them and me, one sealed envelope, one locked box, one careful plan at a time. The probate hearing in downtown Columbus, 2 weeks after the airport, packed courtroom 3B with attention you could cut. Jeffrey's church friends filled one side, modest blouses, purses clutched tight, whispering prayers. On the other, Mrs. Diane Foster sat in navy dress, hands folded, calm. Sharon Ellis, my aunt who drove from Dayton after the news broke, and Megan Brooks, arms crossed, jaw locked. 2 Columbus Dispatch reporters, notebooks open, a sketch artist in the back row. Jeffrey sat at the respondent's table, black suit, silver cross tissue balled in his hand. His attorney, a thin man with rimless glasses, shuffling papers with easy confidence. The judge entered, everyone rose. Jeffrey's lawyer led with diminished capacity, arguing Grandpa Raymond was elderly, isolated, possibly unduly influenced, repeating confused 3 times. Stephen Caldwell stood placed the psychiatric evaluation on the bench, dated 2 weeks before the will full competency confirmed by Dr. Alan Fielding, still practicing in Dayton. He opened Grandpa's diary, read the entry from the night I was thrown out. Jeffrey called at 9 p.m., said he put Olivia out. The child walked 3 miles in the rain to my door. She was 10. She was shaking. I called Jeffrey back. He said, "Keep her. I don't want her." The room went silent, heavy. Jeffrey surged to his feet. "That's fabricated, he invented it." The judge ordered him down. Stephen called Mrs. Diane Foster. She described the rain, the child clutching a garbage bag, the 911 call she placed herself. I watched her walk down the street, soaked. The officer went to Jeffrey's house. He told him she'd gone to relatives voluntarily. She looked straight at Jeffrey. That was a lie. A churchwoman in the back lowered her purse, stayed seated. Sharon Ellis took the stand next. She testified about overheard conversations years ago, Jeffrey threatening Grandpa if he pursued custody. He said if Dad tried to take Olivia, he'd accuse him of things that would ruin him forever. Her voice stayed even, but the room shifted. During recess, Jeffrey crossed the aisle, gripped my wrist hard. "You're destroying me, Olivia. Is that what you want?" I removed his fingers one by one, met his eyes. "No. I want the truth spoken aloud." The judge returned. Stephen presented the final evidence, the evaluation, the signing witnesses, Dr. Fielding and Martha Bowen, the librarian, both confirming clean, unbroken chain of custody. The judge reviewed for 8 minutes that stretched like hours. The court finds the will of Raymond Ellis valid and duly executed. Petitioner, Olivia Harper, is the sole designated beneficiary. Jeffrey's shoulders collapsed. His attorney touched his arm. Jeffrey shook it off. No church friend moved to comfort him. Stephen informed the court criminal evidence conspiracy involving Jeffrey and Nathan was now public, forwarded to the prosecutor. He read the texts aloud. Nathan to V, make it look natural. Jeffrey to Nathan, she's not signing. We may need the backup. Jeffrey's reply, do what you have to, just keep me out of it. The church side stared as if a mask had fallen. A reporter's pen scratched audibly. The judge set the criminal case separate, maximum 20 years. He advised Jeffrey to consult counsel. Jeffrey stared at the table like the world had continued without him. I walked past without looking down. In the hallway, Jeffrey waited. Suit rumpled, eyes red. Olivia, please don't do this to your father. His voice cracked. I stopped. You chose money over me 22 years ago. Today I choose myself. I left. He didn't follow. Jeffrey and Nathan were convicted of fraud and conspiracy. Nathan received 8 years parole after 5. Jeffrey got 5 years suspended after 2 with probation. They lost the house on Xenia Avenue, all Ellis assets. Jeffrey's church quietly removed him. Neighbors stopped returning calls. He sold everything, moved to a small apartment in Clearwater, Florida alone, no visitors, no contact. 6 months later, the house on Xenia Avenue came alive again. Volunteers, painters, contractors who read the Dispatch article donated time and discounts. We replaced porch boards, fixed the leaky faucet Grandpa always meant to repair, sanded hardwood, patched drywall, hung fresh curtains. I kept his desk in the living room, placed Grandma Patricia's photo of us at 5, the oak box with his diaries, and a fresh mug of black coffee every morning untouched. Mrs. Foster ran operations. Sharon Ellis joined the board. Megan flew in weekends, reorganized the medicine cabinet twice. Hearthline partnered, connecting residents to mentors. We opened with 3 teenagers. Standing in the living room where Grandpa read the paper, I told them the truth I knew. This house belongs to a man who believed in second chances. He gave me one. Now it's yours. After everything I understood, real family chooses to stand beside you. I've had to set boundaries with blood. I suspect many of us carry our own quiet version of that story. Thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you found this story meaningful, don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming videos.